Awesome, thanks. Welcome everybody to August 2024 Finance and Corporate Meeting. So I will start by asking George to do an opening karakia.
All right, thank you. Tu taua mai I runga, tu taua mai I raro, tu taua mai I roto, tu taua mai iho. Kia tau ai te Māori tū, te Māori ora, kei te katoa, hume hui tāke.
Thanks for that. Okay, we'll kick off with apologies, and I have apologies from Councillor Morgan on council business, likewise Mayor O'Regan, Councillor Thomas and Councillor Gowers are both attending funerals, I believe. So could I have a mover? Thanks Claire, thanks Lou, all in favour? Contrary no, it's carried. Disclosure of members' interests. Okay, there being none, late items. Likewise, confirmation of order of meeting. Now there is a change and I need a resolution to affect it. The item regarding the segregation strip for Silverwood Lane, Cambridge, the need to that is gone, and I'll read the recommendation out. That the order of the meeting be confirmed subject to the removal of item 11, Silverwood Lane, Cambridge segregation strip due to the application being processed by the Department of Conservation. Thank you, Roger. Thanks, Lou. All in favour? Aye. Contrary, no. So that's carried, and I don't need, that's sufficient for the whole order of meeting thing. Cool. Confirmation of the minutes, and that's item 5. Do I have a mover that they are true and a correct record?
I'd just like to draw attention to the fact that I think it's page 18 of the agenda, so this is part of the minutes. It makes a reference to the community boards and the geographic location of them, and it looks like the first one, it was the Cambridge Community Board, but on the right-hand column, it talks about the areas identified as the Cambridge subdivision in Appendix 7, plus the areas within the boundaries identified as the Maungatautari, and then the wording stops. And I think the subsequent cell with subdivision in Appendix 9 should occur in that. Do you see what I mean?
9.
So
Yeah.
that should be up there. Maybe or not.
Yeah, so there's incomplete wording in that top cell, and it looks like it relates to that second cell.
Subdivision in Appendix 9 should be above the line.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Claire.
Sorry, I didn't send that through earlier.
So subject to that amendment, small typo, are you moving?
Yes, if I attended, I think I did.
I know I didn't.
Yeah.
I think you did.
Yeah, happy
And
to
a
move.
seconder? Yeah, very happy, thank you. Okay, so I'll put the motion, all in favour?
Aye.
Contrary, no. Carried also. So item 7, health and safety.
Another set of minutes.
Oh God, another set of minutes, my apologies. Item 6, yeah, unconfirmed from the 30th of June. And again, I wasn't there, so, sorry, 30th of July, my apologies. Again, I wasn't there, but do I have a mover? Thanks, Philip, thanks, Claire, all in favour?
Aye.
Contrary, no. Carried, right. Getting a bit ahead of myself. Okay, item 7, health and safety report. Ladies, welcome.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I'm stepping in for Clark Collins this afternoon as he didn't want to share his bugs with you, so You got me, sorry.
We appreciate that.
I will, I will. Look, thank you for the opportunity for Bev and I to present to you the health and safety report for the period March to July 2024. What we've done is put in there a brief overview of the 6 areas that the team have been working on diligently over the past 5 months. This reporting period is a 5-month one. And we've put more detail of these in the body of the report. So we won't go through each and every one, but certainly I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have.
Great, clear.
Yeah, thanks. It's a really good report and I'm really encouraged with all the great work that's been done. I just wanted to highlight that on page 7 of the report or 27 of our agenda, it talks about event severity, you know, that's been sort of reported for health and safety purposes. And it looks like there was, you know, a serious or major incident in June, but there's no assurance for us as councillors or as governors that it was addressed well. What was the response? You know, can we have I suppose, some comfort that it was an opportunity to make sure that your processes were robust and, you know, we're just thinking about making sure that when these things happen, and they do, that the person concerned is looked after and, you know, we've got confidence
Absolutely.
that you know, the mechanisms that you got are working and yeah, I suppose there are learnings that can be applied to other situations, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Really good question, Claire. And I'm sorry for the sort of ambiguity around this. It is a bit sensitive, but from the situation, and we felt it was significant, there has been a lot of follow-up actions that have taken place. So, Bev, did you want to provide some detail?
Yeah, this was an aggressive behaviour incident in which we had police involvement as well. So definitely there was a lot of processes put around this, and we're looking at improving some of our processes as well. So definitely everyone was well cared for, but yeah, it was a bit of a sensitive issue, but yes, it was an aggressive behaviour incident that occurred.
I think in addition,
Sadly, they do seem to be on the increase. Roger, and then you know.
Yeah, there's a discussion on that. Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks.
I wonder if I could just follow up with that. Sorry,
Yeah, fine.
sorry, councillor. Yeah, look, as I mentioned, this is put into process a review of our threat and response framework, and you know, this is where we're really fortunate to have George and her team and crisis management team and the risk management team all coming together to make sure that our response framework is robust and it's reviewed every time these sort of situations come along. And as a result of that situation, a project group has been put together to really scrutinise and look at each of the learnings coming out of that.
No, excellent. Sorry, Lou, was your group on this matter or no? Okay, so Roger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you. And mine is on this traffic management regime. I thought of declaring an interest that I've got an orange corn company, but I actually don't. But look, it's really, I think it's positive that you've adopted that trial. Can you tell us, is it now our policy that the code of practice that was suggested that you've trialed is now going to be adopted for future WIPA projects?
So the code of practice has been in force for quite some time, and the government has the new government has decided that we need to look at how we're actually manage traffic management, particularly around the amount of cones and the amount of orange around.
Yep.
So that code of practice is actually what's been looked at. So they are reviewing that code of practice. It's called the Compton. So that code of practice is being reviewed. And what a lot of councils are doing is actually reviewing how they look at traffic management overall on a risk perspective.
Okay. So the trial that you mentioned within this section
It's ours.
is not a trial of the new proposed governments.
They
Oh.
haven't come out with anything at the moment on guidelines, so they're still actually going through a whole process as
So
well.
what trial have you,
This is an internal one with Waipa around that, so they're looking at the risk management of traffic management, and they're working in relation to traffic management companies that we engage and also our contractors as well.
oh, so that trial doesn't involve any reduction in the number of cones?
It may do.
Fingers
Who knows?
crossed.
It depends on what actually comes
Okay,
out from the
that's
trial.
not the certainty that I was looking
Oh,
for.
I'm sorry, maybe next time when we come in,
Okay,
we can
thank
have
you.
have some towards certainty.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that, Roger. You know, yeah, I was pleased to see that as well, actually. So do we have any other, Mike? Oh, sorry, Lou. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great report. The one thing that just struck me quite is about service strikes. We haven't had strikes for quite some period of time, and I see we're taking an initiative to mitigate that. Is there a problem there between us and our contractors, or is there something developing there that we don't know about?
Thank you for the question. It's a good one, and I'd mentioned it to Clark, and he's been working with Terry Phillips, so has been working with the contractors around strikes, because there have been a couple. So there was a couple of lower incident ones, which the fibre optic cables were nicked, but this one was an actual cut, and that happened in April, which was one of the major events which we've noted. And that actually created an internet and phone outage in Te Awamutu. You probably recall that. So off the back of that, I've been having meetings with contractors about processes, you know, what is going wrong? Why are contractors hitting or striking, whatever they're called? But yeah, what is the actual cause for that, and how can we help and support contractors with reducing the number of events that are seen to be taking place? But we've only had the one major one that we're aware of at this stage.
Because we had that issue at Picket Hill. We had an
Ah.
issue where they cut it, that was Camex. So yeah, so there was
Right.
so I was quite aware of it, and that's why I just asked, are we adequately, taking preventive measure, whether we mark out, where these things are happening?
Oh, look, thankfully, Terry is going to be following up with contractors. So it will be over probably the course of a couple of months to make sure that these processes are in place. And especially the reporting ones as well. We need to know what is, even if there are low level strikes, we still need to know that and what the cause is.
Okay, no further questions? Yeah. Keep up the good work, ladies. It's, this is a work in progress, and it's, you're progressing really well in my view. So, yeah, no, excellent.
Thank you so
Good
much.
report, and I will move to the resolution, which is on page 22. That we received a report of Clark, Bev and Terry. Thanks, Mike. And a seconder. Thanks, Claire. All in favour? Aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Awesome. Okay. Item 8, quarterly property services report. Hey, David, the floor is yours.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Today I bring you the property quarterly report for April-June 24, and that is the final one for that period. I'd just like to bring to your attention within the report, under the levels of service and performance measures, that 2 of the KPI targets were not met and are showing in green. These should be in red. I will talk about this further within the presentation. Looking through the report under the financials, revenue, the total year to date achieved by the 30th of June was 85% of the forecast. The settlement date of a couple of asset sales that fell in July, so they attributed to the difference there. Under the operating expense, the expenditure of 30 June was 103% of the forecast. The overspend was 366,650 and it was primarily driven by the increased expenditures in community properties, commercial properties, Karapera Domain and housing. Specific factors included large asset write-backs and increased refurbishment costs. Conversely, underspending in areas such as forestry, landfills, Cambridge Gym and Karapera Reserve Development contributed to the overall 3% overspend. And the
We're happy to take a question as we go, David?
Yes, can do.
Clear.
Yeah, thanks. The question I have relates to the Cambridge Gym and the velodrome. Yeah, because I noticed that the budget and the forecast were different from the actual year to date. It's because my understanding is that we rate for those two items and I presume that it's then just passed on to either the school with the gym or the velodrome. Yeah. So I thought, yeah, it should be a closer match. So perhaps I've made an assumption that it isn't a targeted rate. It's just that I often see that in the rating thing. Yeah. But then maybe it's a different process. I don't know.
Just through the chair, obviously, I don't think not either David or myself can answer that question in the absence of Ken. So can we just take that away and come back to you? Is that okay?
Mike.
Yeah, look, through the chair, just on that same topic of the Cambridge Gym and just some feedback from the community. It's interesting to see that budget in there, but ultimately, I guess the community see us as being a major stakeholder and in charge of the upkeep of that gym, whether that's totally correct or not. But some of the feedback I've had is it is extremely dusty. I guess the feedback is who actually checks the maintenance of this gym? That was the overarching thing. And then the person gave me some examples of broken toilets, very dusty right throughout the whole thing. And there was one other thing I can't remember. But yeah, I guess the question fundamentally is who's actually in charge of the level of service of that? And I guess what does that level of service look like?
So through the chair, what I would know is that the asset's not owned by council from an asset management standpoint. So our best practice is not going through and looking at the condition assessment. My understanding that this was a loan or a grant for that facility. So the asset management of that facility would sit under the landowner being the school.
Thank you for that.
Continuing, the capital expenditure, the total year-to-date capital expenditure of the 30th of June was 78% of forecast. And the reason being is that capital projects were finished in June and they will see that expenditure being paid for in carry forward budget for July. The hall's capital expenditure relates to the Cambridge Town Hall and they are in the planning stage at present with physical construction scheduled for later on this year. Back to the levels of service, as previously mentioned, two of the urgent KPI targets were not met. We received a total of 166 CRMs in this period. The KPIs are as follows. Non-urgent is 2 days to respond for pensioner housing and land and buildings. 83 CRMs were non-urgent pensioner housing, with 67 of them being service requests. 78 CRMs were non-urgent land and buildings, and 54 of them were service requests. This KPI was met. In the urgent space, which is the KPI is 2 hours response for pensioner housing and land and buildings. 2 CRMs were urgent pensioner housing and 2 of them were service requests. These were answered on an average of 2 hours and 45 seconds. 3 CRMs were urgent land and buildings, 3 of them being service requests, and they were answered on an average of 3 hours and 42 minutes. So those are the KPIs that weren't met. These were missed due to staff being engaged on other matters when the urgent requests came through. Conversation has been had around our KPIs and research done on what other councils around the country provide. And we'll be seeking adjustment of these KPIs in the 25-34 LTP to align with that research. This will be captured in the property activity management plan. The lease portfolio, 10 new community leases were fully executed during the period, following approval from this committee and through administrating rights of the council committee. This portfolio has come a long way over the last 12 months and is looking in good stead. Project updates. Cambridge Town Hall, as mentioned, are in the planning stage of their capital project and have received their first QS estimate, which they are going through in detail. The Cambridge Water Tower, preparation of this project has started after the adoption of the enhanced annual plan.
Sorry, Liz, and then Roger, and then Mike.
Right, the Cambridge Water Tower. Dave, are you able to give me a bit of an update? Because I get daily calls now on the water tower and the ideas that some members of our community have about how they might be able to save it, how it might be able to be just half torn down and keep the first half. I don't know, but I guess I want to make sure that all the voices are being heard and that we're not anywhere near demolition, because I think that these ideas and suggestions are coming thick and fast to me at the moment. So where are we at with that and how can the community be involved?
Through the chair. So we have reached out to the community group and conversation has been had with with a spokesman of that group around putting them around the table as well as we go through this consent process. As previously mentioned, we've got a 28-metre structure that's on a lean, and that if it falls, it'll go into the retirement village, and could be very bad. The complexity of the project around the land status, it's recreation land, vested into the reserve status, and has Ruapatu rights on it, which means it's first right of refusal from Tainui, Waikato Tainui. So that's just around the complexity of the land status. The land status being recreation reserve means that the minister has to approve any commercial activity on that. And that theoretically has to be for the betterment and enjoyment of the reserve. So those are the specific words within the Act. Again, that's a large complexity due to the fact that it is a reserve that doesn't have it's a passive usage. So it's for the, it's for the enjoyment, it's walking. So there's no actual community activity on it. So if you're looking at what projects can be put on there or what businesses can be put on there, is it actually meeting the requirements of that land? Then it comes to of course, we know that the dollars that we've looked at on refurbishing it and seismic strengthening it. We are reaching out to a company overseas that is looking at different options that they have on a product that can be used for that. Whether that will work with a skin brick and a brick of that age, we don't know yet. But that is part of the consent process of looking at all the different avenues that are there. But it is a complex issue, and we'll do our due diligence on it.
So will we have a workshop on it before any? Yeah, if we can do that, because actually the people that are contacting me aren't even part of the Let's Save the Water Tower group. Yeah.
Chair.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think you've answered all of my questions in answering Liz's question, but just to endorse the fact that in my experience that's happened over the last number of months, and would you believe that one of the calls that I got at 2 o'clock in the morning in Spain was related to the water tower So that was particularly good, I thought, for me. But thank you, you've answered that. And I'm pleased to hear that it will be coming back to a workshop of council before any other decision. And you're obviously looking at alternatives now in readiness to come back to us. So that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, just to reiterate that, and we'd always agreed that while resource consent has been sought, we'd be looking at every option. So David, great to hear that you sort of, it sounds like leaving no stone unturned. And I guess Liz, it's just making sure we connect people to the right, to David and all that group. Yeah, the workshop's a great idea, but before anything is finally decided, it is going to come back to was it service delivery or was it was one of the subcommittees anyway? SPMP.
Bill?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know how much for question. We talked about today and other days, we've been talking about correspondence and engagement again. I mean, and we're talking with this group that's formed. Is there any other groups or any other engagement you'd like to suggest or would consider in order to get not just our voice, but the community's voice as well? I mean, yeah, and the quick question, and then how sure are you with those values of demolition versus restoration, and you know, would it blow out of proportion the getting approval from the Heritage Society? Is it, I mean, it's not a guarantee you're going to get it, and will that just blow out of proportion in order to try and get it, but then don't get it?
Yeah, so through the chair, through delivering information that we provided you for the enhanced annual plan and the consultation that went out to the public, we did reach out to Heritage NZ and we did have a rather robust discussion with them, which was good. And we laid our cards on the table. They laid their cards on the table, and we explained to them around the complexities of the project and the cost to the ratepayer for what we were looking at. Going forward around engagement with the community, I think it would be a workshop with elected members first, and then we can reach out to the community, the community boards and any other groups that are interested in seeing where the process is going. But we're very open to consultation on this topic because we know the passion in the community around the structure.
And when you had discussions with the Heritage Society, they made you give you some sort of confidence that you're providing you put everything in place, you're likely to get consent to get it or not?
So through the chair, they are a very passionate group around bricks and mortar. So I highly doubt that they will agree.
Okay, doc. I think Claire.
Yeah, thanks. I'll change the subject over to kihikihi. There's a little item about the Stockade Reserve. And I'm really keen to get an update on that. Like it's here as a possible site, for medium density housing and that. And it's also tied up with the proposal for a skate park for that community. And so just keen to know whether or not you're making any progress on it.
So through the chair, I'll have to come back to you on that with
no.
information because of the number of groups that are working around that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thanks for that, David. Yes, carry on.
So the next project was the Cambridge Clock Tower. This project was completed just after the end of the financial year on July 12th. 23 Wilson Street has seen the detailed seismic assessment completed and the building has returned a 40 to 50% NBS, the new building standard rating. Porongia Forest, the forestry replant is happening at present and will be paid for by carry forward budget in August 24-25, and that's the installation of 40,000 manuka plants. The business accommodation strategy, the draft enhanced annual plan has seismic work to be completed on 135 Roach Street, and this includes seismic strengthening, roof replacement and window refurbishment. 101 Bank Street has seen roof repairs to the entrance area, as well as some gutter renewals were completed. The Sir Don Rowlands Centre Medical Room, the water leak repairs have completed. This was a total refurbishment due to the water damage. And Vale Court, as you know, a new 10-unit complex was completed and handed over to Habitat for Humanity to lease on the 12th of July. Credit goes to a good project team that delivered this project. And from our side, that's Greg Boyle and Dustin Mills. Looking at the housing for elderly.
Sorry, David, I have a query from Mike on that.
Well, just two quick comments. One is it's fantastic to see that that those pensioner units are up and going and they look absolutely great. There's obviously clearly still a massive need right across the district for more work in that space, not necessarily just from council, but from across the community. And just quickly reading some Facebook notes around the clock tower. You know, considering I think we spent around $700,000, they were all every single one was extremely positive about what the council's done there. So yeah,
It's great
well,
hearing that.
well done.
Great hearing that going again. Really, really good. Well done.
So the housing for the elderly, within the report is the waiting list.
Oh, sorry, David, Roger now. Roger.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Dave. And I'm looking at the detail that you've got in here in terms of disposals and properties, etc. But there's actually no mention that I can see of Arnold Street. And I know that there was discussion about a proposal on Arnold Street. And I've just got a little bit of concern that that wasn't.
Roger, I think this is it's PE, it's going to be a PE item.
Okay.
Thanks.
I will withdraw my comment.
Through the chair, I'll just continue with the housing for the elderly. So the waiting list is with Waipa residents and non-residents. And just note that priority is given to Waipa residents or returning Waipa residents. Te Awamutu, we've got 27. Kiiki, we've got 3. Cambridge, we've got 27. Leamington, we've got 21. Looking at both area or all areas, we've got 6. And then those looking for 2 bedrooms, we've got 4. So we've got a total of 88 people sitting on the waiting list. Can report that 2 of those off that waiting list did go through to Vale Court. So it was pleasing to hear. At the moment, we've got 7 Vale quarters vacant, and a new tenant is going in on the 13th of August. And then we've had 2 properties that are going through renewals, full renewals, and that's 9 Dr. Todd and 13 Vale. So that full renewal can include up to new kitchen, new bathroom, flooring, painting, curtains, blinds, double glazing, windows and doors, and internal wall installation if needed. So it's an opportunity to bring the asset back up to a good condition. Asset disposal. So we're very fortunate to have some deals gone through. Both properties in Beachy Street settling in July. As you know, the Te Rahu Road subdivision is ready to go if the financial position changes. 312 Roach Street is settling in August. 81 Blundell, there's a conditional offer on the rear lot. 106 Herbert, there's a conditional offer on that. And the top 10 Cambridge motor camp, there's the S&P signed, and that is settling in October, November after some minor works have been done on that asset. Looking forward into Q1, our key priorities: completion of the planting on Pirongia, commitments of a 135 Roach project, phase 2 of our asset management system, Technology 1, completing scoping and final design, methodology and costing of the Karapiro retaining wall project, which will go through to the LTP. Continued development of our seismic policy and methodology to inform process. Continuation of operationalize the contracts database tool and continued review of the lease portfolio. Continued asset disposal and progress the planned maintenance and renewal projects, and then helping the rest of the business in service delivery as required. I'll take any further questions.
Well, that's great, David, and great to see some progress on the disposals, and not easy in the climate we're in right now. So give our sincere thanks to your team on that. Fellow I see over in the corner there. Monty.
David, the disposal on Te Rahu Road, I feel responsible for blocking this. So under the LTP forthcoming, if the debt headroom position improves, that'll be coming back on. That's a question.
Back to us, yeah.
That's a question. And well, yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, yes, we would like to.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, thanks for that, David. A very complete report, and you guys are busy and wonderful to see the property team operating so nicely. So I'll move to the recommendation on page 33. Could I have a mover, please, to accept David's report? Thanks, Lou. Thanks, Claire. All in favour? Aye. Contrary, no. It's carried. Thanks, David. All right, item 9. A new report, 6 monthly organisational performance and improvement report, and the report author is George, also my right-hand person. So, George.
Kia ora, thank you. So just to give a bit of background, so this is a new report that we're proposing to bring to the Finance and Corporate Committee on a 6-monthly basis. And the intent of the report is to just give more information to governance in regards to progress around our internal strategic priorities, but in a more holistic way outside of our KPIs. This information in this report obviously augments a lot of other information that you get across here, but you wouldn't necessarily see some of this content. And it's really about showing our performance and really the effort that the organisation goes to in regards to continuously making improvements to our performance and striving for excellence. So the report goes, this is largely looking back at some highlights from the last 12 months and then looking forward to the next 6 months. As it's a new report, very open to what you want to know and see and any improvements you'd like to make to the report. It concentrates itself around the 4 internal strategic priority areas, which are excellent delivery of services, building and enhancing our connections and partnerships, sound financial stewardship and tangata. I won't go through it in detail. There's probably just a couple of things I did just want to highlight. I did just want to emphasise the report does talk about our endeavours around productivity gains through our digital roadmap. And I did just want to sort of make sure when we do talk about productivity gains and we're talking about those time savings that we make, that is really about enabling further growth, work demands that are placed upon our people, and allowing them to do some of the more value-added activity that they may not necessarily be able to. So it's about that what I term is capacity creation to focus on those additional expectations too that are coming through local government. We then talk about we look at some of the trends and statistics that are coming through our customer support areas, through our social media and website channels. And we also highlight here some of our sort of key metrics around our people in regards to some of the trends that we're seeing and some of the key initiatives that are happening in that area. So I'm happy to take questions and also very happy to take suggestions into the future if you see this type of information as useful for you.
Yeah, thanks, George. Yeah, a really good initiative, I think, although we'll see what our committee says, comes up with. Was that clear?
Yeah, I'm really rapt to see this report, and I think you've done a great job. Yeah, I was very pleased to see reporting on this type of thing, I guess. And it highlighted for me, I guess, the pivotal role that the Digital Roadmap project is going to have, you know, and so all kudos to you for, you know, the work that you've been driving there. And in fact, it was great to see a demonstration of the productivity gains that you feel are being achieved through it. Yeah. So I was really pleased to see that. And so I do have some suggestions, but they're minor. Like, I think you're on to a great start, and I'm happy to send those through separately because they're just, you know, suggestions like for instance, on page 49, where you're talking about, it's all about our people in that, and one of the measures is headcount and recruitment. I'd love to see like diversity, you know, some other things as well. I mean, like you've got good stats on the number of people, but you know, how many like gender or whether it's like they call it neurodiverse or something. I don't know what the measures are, but you know, like that's important as well. Yeah, so I'm interested in that. And I'd love to see targets set for some of the digital roadmap stuff so that then you can compare your performance and say how you're doing or decide why a particular target is appropriate. Yeah, you know, and what you're trying to achieve through that. And then as we have, reporting going forward, you can see what your performance is. And then like the important thing about either productivity gains or capacity building is that from the year one when you achieve them, they actually apply every other year subsequent to that, you know, so you're kind of creating a cumulative effect, which is something that you can also report on, you know, not just the annual change that you've been able to do. Yeah. I guess the other thing that I'd like to suggest this is on page 57, and this is about building and enhancing our connections and partnerships. And looking forward, you've suggested investigating participatory democracy opportunities. I'd love to see us set a goal for instance, setting up at least one of those opportunities in the LTP consultation, you know, something like that. So I guess they're stronger or more concrete targets than the ones that you've put there. Yeah, that's but pretty happy with what you're doing. Yeah, and yeah, hoping to see lots more. Thank you.
Cool. And I really appreciate all of those comments, and I can talk internally about how we may be able to respond.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Claire. Roger and then Mike.
Thanks, through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, George, for this information. And I just want a bit of clarification, if you can, so I can understand it. And it's on the vacancies and turnover stats. Let me tell you what your page 18 of 21. And there is a figure there of average vacancies per month being 43. So that, the way I interpret that is that there were 43 vacancies in particular, well, the average was 43 per month. And yet when you look at the vacancies over time and you look at the per month by month vacancies for this year, 39, 37, 47, 44 is is the average of that per month 43? And that becomes as a percentage of a total 353, or whatever the current, 353 total staff. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, you are reading that correctly, and I can also look to Steph too. So those vacancies are numbers. So there were 37 vacancies, then 47 and 44. And over the quarter of the period, April to June, there was on average over that 3 months, 43 vacancies at a time. Yes, and that is out of the total of our number of staff, which is roughly 350,
Yeah,
360.
okay.
Yeah.
And as a percentage, that would, to me, be somewhere in the mid-teens. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
And the analysis of that is that over time, particularly in the last couple of years, that percentage has increased quite a lot.
No, I don't think so. I think what this graph is showing is that from October through to now, it's really telling the story of financial prudence and the story of the LTP
Okay.
and the enhanced annual plan, where vacancies have not come down to what they were because they have been scrutinised.
And so it's been an intentional ploy by us to non-replace, which has affected our
Correct.
because they're still
Correct.
counted as vacancies. I
Correct.
think that maybe somehow needs to be highlighted
Absolutely.
because that's been a result of
Intention.
intention.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I had the same query when I went through the agenda. At first glance, it does look like we've got a lot of jobs that are not being filled. And I guess at second glance, that's exactly what the case is. But what's not spelled out is that some of those are deliberate.
Yeah. And that's where you have a fault, and you can read anything into statistics, but
Just
it's not.
about.
Yeah.
We can certainly provide more detail on that. So, I mean.
If you
for-
could, I'd
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
appreciate that,
Yeah.
because I think that's very relevant to us as we're looking, going forward. Yeah, thank you.
So just on these figures, it's 50-50. So we've got about 20 recruitment processes in place at the moment and 20 roughly on hold, and that's for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
So, happy to go into them if you wish, but that's a sort of ratio at the moment.
Yeah, no, not here, I don't think. I think we probably all understand that, the overall reasons for that.
Sure.
Thanks, Steph. Yep, Mike, and then Monty.
Oh,
Or
sorry.
are you on the same?
I was directly related to that.
Yeah.
The graph immediately to the right, turnover over time, I reckon is a better KPI that tells you,
Yes.
and that's trending in a nice direction. So the absolute number of vacancies, if you're doing it on purpose, is kind of irrelevant, but turnover is always relevant, I reckon.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mike. Agree. Mike.
Thanks through the chair. Just page 7 of your report, 52 of ours, down bottom there under fleet. So just a clarification. So just doing the numbers. So we've replaced 48 vehicles in the last financial year, of which 29 have been sort of hybrids or straight EVs. So I'm figuring there must be around maybe 100 or so vehicles overall that the council runs, just north of that. I see there's charging units going in and there's some being looked at. Is there a maximum capacity that we're ever going to be able to get to with sort of hybrids or EVs because of charging port limits that council will have access to?
I would need to come back to you on that and just have a chat to the fleet team about it. Yes, there will be, and there also will be, as these vehicles are replaced, they are very much scrutinised to make sure that we are doing it in the most economical and sustainable way. So all of that is scrutinised as part of the renewal program. But in terms of our capacity to provide charging, I'd need to come back to you on that.
Right. And then I guess the second one, maybe since this was sort of put together, of course, as Claire's alluded to, there's now charges or ruck charges on, both these type of vehicles, and just be interesting to see in terms of a savings that factored in too, just to come back somewhere in the future. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's definitely being considered at the
Right.
moment.
Yep, thank you.
Awesome. All right, Lou.
Just a quick notation on what councillor Pettit said. If you turn over the page, you'll see that the hybrids, most of the EVs are in Cambridge at the moment. We don't have the charging here. And the hybrids, I see that they have improved, a 34% improvement, the hybrids. So, yeah, look, I've got no problem with this. I think this is, positive. And want to congratulate you on your report. Well done. It's really great. It gives us a good sound base for us to make decisions on. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, that being the case, we'll move to the, oops, not that one. Move to page 48, where recommendation to receive George's report. Could I have a mover and Mike and Phil? All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried. Awesome and great initiative. Okay, item 10, proposed easement sought by NZTA for groundwater take.
Two people from NZTA as well.
All right, okay, and we're welcoming the crew from NZTA as well. Or...
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. So Angela.
Okay, so good morning, Mr Chair and committee members. As you know, I'm Angela McEwen from the Council's Property Services team. I'm joined here today with Jana Avarianova and Mike Wood. Obviously, you've picked up there from NZTA. The purpose of this report is to seek approval from the committee to grant an easement to NZTA over part of the reserve known as the Moana Roa Reserve. NZTA had approached council staff with a proposal to undertake field investigation to test the feasibility of taking groundwater from the reserve via a well. It's anticipated that this method of water take will filter out the gold clams that are present at Lake Karapiro. If the easement is approved and the testing methodology is successful, this project would then support the construction of the State Highway 1 extension from Cambridge through to Piriri, and also the construction of an associated roundabout. While it would be feasible to utilise surface water via a treatment plant, it would be a riskier and a costlier option compared to using a ground water supply well, which relies on natural filtration. The effectiveness of the treatment plant would also need to be verified to ensure that adequate removal of the gold clam from the water, and operating the filter system would pose a higher risk of human error as it requires regular cleaning, proper disposal for biohazardous waste. NZTA have highlighted 4 possible local pump stations, and they were on page 3 of the report. I don't know if you get them up there.
Oh, we've got it in front of us.
Yeah, if you've got it in front of you, that's good. And I think NZTA and staff between us agreed that location number 3 was the preferred location, kind of tucked out of the way a little bit there, and did not impact on the ability of visitors using the reserve to access the water or utilise the open spaces within the reserve. You'll also see in the report it will be split into 2 phases, with the first phase being the testing. If the testing is successful and the gold clams are successfully filtered out, then the NZTA would require occupation of part of the reserve for approximately 8 years following that.
8 years.
8 years. Yeah, if it doesn't work, it gets pulled the pin, obviously, or looking at other options to filter the water. Okay, so
Cool.
Any questions?
Yeah, anything you guys want to add before?
Yep, do you want
Through you, Mr Chair. Just that we've worked closely with our project partners, Ngāti Koroki Kahakura, Ngāti Hawa, Raukawa, Waikato Tainui. We gave them some options of sites, and from cultural perspective, there were other sites of concern to them. This site, from a cultural perspective, works for them, and they're really keen to see this, even the trial, because it's it was of great concern for them. We're about to start construction on the roundabout at Paerere. We were all set to take the water from the river. Then one of our ecologists found the clam down at Bob's Landing. So we've really worked hard to try and optioneer, look at all options, cartage of water, etc. This seems to be a approach that ticks the boxes. MPI think in principle it could work. So we're quite excited if it works, because water is absolutely critical for this project. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks for adding that. That's really, quite important too. Liz.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I don't have a question, but you need water. You don't want our clams. And I can absolutely appreciate just how important this easement is for you. So I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thanks, Liz. Any other queries or comments? No? Lou, you want a second? Okay, no further discussion on that? It looked pretty easy. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried. Well done.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Good luck with
everybody.
that.
Have a great afternoon.
Item 11 is no more. Item 12.
Yeah, item 11 is.
Oh, yeah. So Yolanda and Kirsten, you're up. Probably didn't know, but item 11 has been pulled, so welcome.
I'm Kirsten McNamara from Revenue Team. So I'm just taking that this report has been read, and if there's any questions.
I'm sure there will be. Do I?
Sorry, can I just through the chair?
Yeah.
Just sort of by way of introduction, I guess this is a proactive report by staff to give governance more information on what is happening, and that's in this space.
Mike.
Just a question. I think there was 11 ratepayers we're sort of chasing down, of which 8 were from Cambridge. Is there something in particular is that just a coincidence? Because it seems a big coincidence, but
I think it's just
comment?
coincidence.
It is, right.
Liz.
Yeah, look, well, we don't see these reports very often, and to be honest, and I was reading through them, that they are somewhat different, but obviously it does explain, perhaps paints a picture of some of the hurt that's out there. I don't know, but it seems to me that you're just providing a sensible way forward in terms of, continuing to do what you can, but I appreciate that enforcement, through the courts is going to have to obviously be an option, so. Yeah, I don't see that there's any other suggestions that we would want to make, so I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Yeah, just on that, and just pick off Liz's point is, and there's a comment in here about it is a last resort, and hopefully some of the 10 people that still have an opportunity, something can still be done at the 11th hour, because that's ultimately what we want. We don't want to go to court. We don't want to be at war with our ratepayers. But we all have to pay our share. So hopefully, at the 11th hour, something can be done with it all, or at least some of these folks, before it does go to the ultimate step.
Okay. Right, Monty.
This is actually probably a question for you, George. Have you run a risk lens over this?
From what kind of perspective?
Organisational risk if we end up following through with a significant number of these.
Oh, I guess it speaks to our top risks in regards to what's happening out there, and the community are finding it a little bit tougher. So I guess it's speaking to that. Have I run a risk lens over it completely? No, I haven't. I guess I go back off Councillor Pettit's comment that it's very unlikely that all of these will go through, and that plans, et cetera, will be able to be put in place, so that we don't have to go through the full legal process.
However, saying that, there is reference to sovereign citizenship, which I don't think will see a voluntary compliance and ultimately will result in that action being taken.
Well, yeah, okay, so look, I mean, the ultimate action, and we have done one already as a rating sale. There's a very substantial process to go through before that happens. And when I talked about this with Ken, he said, I think in his experience, this is the first one he's ever seen actually get to that point. Because people do, at that point normally realise it's in their best interests to simply pay their rates. Yeah, in terms of risk, yeah, well, I mean, as Mike said, we all have to pay our rates. It's just, we have to pay our share, and that's what it is. Yeah, no, I think I'll just leave it at that. Okay, Claire.
Yeah, like I appreciate it's a serious step to take, but I agree with councillor Pettit that, people do need to pay their rates, and council needs to be seen actually to be enforcing that. And I mean, considering the number of ratepayers that we have, which is, I presume it's well over 20,000, to only have 11, shows that the vast majority of our ratepayers, are complying as much as they can. Yeah, and of course we have these other processes where if people are really facing hardship, they can set in place repayment plans and things like that, so this is where this action is taken when we're not getting that kind of cooperation. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really hoping that they can be resolved without going to this step, but yeah, I do support the action that's taken.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, Chair, just to note that although there's 10 going into legal action, there's been a lot of interaction between the team and the ratepayer to try and avoid getting to this point. These 10 ratepayers do not have mortgages, so therefore that is unfortunately the next step. We've exhausted all our other avenues.
Yeah, that's the one common factor, no mortgages. Well, because if there was a mortgage, we can simply go to the mortgagor and say, so that makes it easy. Yeah, the fact that there's no mortgage, but I mean.
How many of these people are absentee owners, or are they actually residing there, or is it absentee owners?
My understanding is of all these 11, we have one that is overseas, but all others are owner occupiers. Yeah.
Just a last question. There is a rates rebate scheme, is there not? And my understanding is that recently the actual threshold for that has changed. Have these ratepayers not seen that as an opportunity to, gain some leniency on their rates?
So as I said, there's a lot of interaction before we get to this point. So the rates rebate would have been offered by the team if it was an option.
Yeah, I think in the report it says that one of these people has applied for and been granted the rates rebate since 2020, since 2020, I think. And yeah, okay, yeah. So, I mean, that tells its own story, I suppose, to a certain extent. Okay, thanks for the report, much appreciated. And we're not approving or disapproving anything, we're simply receiving this report. So could I have a mover, please? Roger?
No, Liz has moved.
Oh, Liz moved already, of course, it way back. Roger? Roger, we'll accept you as a second. Thank you very much. Could I, all in favour, please? Contrary noes, carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, so we're going to move into public excluded as a resolution item 13. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Claire. And the seconder, Auntie, all in favour? Contrary, no.